to do over the course of this weekend is work at internal energetic circulations in the spinal qigong. And what I'm going to really cover is what I would call the core ones, because almost any one of the exercise has a bunch of other kind of, like I would say, kind of secondary circulations. And at some point I'll do a seminar on that. But to get just the basic core ones, we'll pretty much take this weekend. And the kind of fundamental thing is, starting out in the first exercise, you're working with the energy on the surface of the body and how it expands out with the Wei Qi. And progressively through the exercises, you go from the Wei Qi into, if you can, all the way to your Zhong Dingmen, the center, which is the core energy of your body. And sort of there's a progression that takes place, but what I want to work on tonight is one and maybe two things. First of all, really getting the energy, the Wei Qi in the first exercise really full, which means the energy on the surface of your body, and as it even extends out from your body, really making sure that through your whole system that's like really full and energetic. And as you go through the exercise, you get a nice circulation of it. Coming up the back, coming down the front. The second thing, which I think we'll get to, but we may not, if we don't, we'll do it tomorrow, is in the second exercise, basically, as much as you can through your whole system, not just through kind of contracting into the center, but through your whole body contracting inwards, the energy, bringing you deeper and deeper into your system. And at the end of the second exercise, however deep you've gotten it, that's sort of the baseline of where you work for the rest of the exercises. So the idea is to try to get the energy from the surface to go inwards. And, you know, it may go inwards a certain amount, and a lot depends on how loose your body is, how loose your tissue is, and how open it is as to how deep it goes. I mean, ultimately, if you really get it to go deep, it goes all the way into the bones. But it's not like you're trying to really force it there. You're trying to have that sense of fullness and completeness. And however far it goes and stays kind of nice and complete through your whole system, and it goes deeper. That's really where you want to work. You can kind of do it, you can kind of do a game with your mind and go, okay, I'm going to like bring it all into my bones or something, or compress it all really deep. And you can do that, but what happens is you don't get the kind of sequential opening through all the layers of your tissue, getting down to it. So what happens is you may get an experience of a certain amount on a deep level, but you don't get the opening in all the intermediate levels. And to really do the Qigong well, you want to progressively go deeper and deeper through opening up each level as you go, rather than trying to like jump to the end result right away. Because if you do that, you're going to like forego a lot of these things, and actually it creates a lot of problems for you on the latter stages of development internally. So it's sort of like you just want to like be comfortable wherever your Qi goes and wherever you experience it. Okay, that's where I'm going to play with it and work with it. Because the exercises are designed to progressively help you bring you deeper. But if you kind of like mentally jump beyond where your energy really is, what happens is you kind of scramble the whole thing, and it doesn't really work nearly as well. First exercise is you start out there's a sense of pulling the energy up from the ground, up your back, up through the top of your head, then down the front of the body. And this kind of sense of circulation continues through the first exercise. Now it comes back up to that. But the real idea is it's not like the chi just does that. It's more like you want to get the energy really full everywhere. And then it's almost like a wave that just kind of travels through the full energy, rather than it just being the wave, and then as soon as the wave passes, everything else kind of goes away. So what you really are looking for is to really get your whole system very energized and very full and get it expanded. And what you're really looking for here is really the surface of the skin, slightly below it, and out, however much you have a sensation of the energy extending. So it's not like you're trying to like go, okay, I want to like pull the energy out to heaven or something like that. What you're really trying to do is just allow the natural energy of your body and the chi that circulates around the surface to really fill out. Then when you do the exercise, you want to have this nice sense of kind of a wave going through it, coming up, coming back down. Up the back, down the front. There's never a sense like it goes away anywhere, really. It's very full. Now, I think one of the things that tends to happen is there's kind of a tendency to like have places that kind of are not active, or not energized, and other places that are very energized. And mentally, there's a tendency to focus on the places that feel energized. It's like you do the exercise, and you go, oh, right here. It's like, oh, I feel a lot. Oh, yeah, that's great. And then you sort of like forget the fact that like maybe down here, nothing's going on. Because what happens is when you start experiencing, you start feeling the chi, your mind tends to get drawn to that experience because it's a pleasurable sensation. It's not a bad thing. But what you're really wanting to do is try to get it to become active for the whole system. And so part of doing that is being aware of where you feel it so you're comfortable with that feeling. You start understanding in your kind of awareness what that feeling is. But on the other hand, you also want to look at the places in your body where you don't have that sensation. So I want to have you do a little exercise, a little two-person exercise. So if someone comes up here and wants to be the guinea pig.
Be careful, she's a high.
Watch out.
Oh, I mean, you should watch out. No, sorry. That's good for you.
Uh-huh. So go ahead and then just, yeah, it's okay if you're, I just want to be sure you're on camera. Go ahead and move a little forward, just a little forward. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And I want you to go ahead and do the exercise, just the first motion, first movement. Okay. And And what I want to do is I want to kind of help Anna get a little bit of the sensation up through the body. So as she goes up, I'll wait until she comes back down to the bottom.
You need to move forward.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, I'm okay. Because as she goes up, I just want to really lightly give her a sense of the energy flowing up, stimulating. So it's a very light sensation. One way of doing this is just really lightly with your fingers. Another way is just kind of tapping. So really, and it's very light. Very importantly, all the way up through the head.
That was amazing. I felt it release right here where it wasn't.
Yeah.
I thought it was, but then it really did.
Yeah, okay. Do it again, but do it a little bit slower.
Okay.
So go down. Really try to get it to come up the legs. All the way up. No, keep going up. You're cutting it off the top. All the way up to the head. So it really gets extended upwards. And what you'll find by doing this is everybody will have certain places where things are like, oh, not quite energized, not quite as full as I think, or as I experience. And you start noticing those kind of differences between like one part of you that's more energized and fuller, and other places not as full. The idea is to try to get as much as you can, the whole to become uniform. That may not mean that everything becomes as full as the strongest place. But the idea is to take, if you kind of find the mean between the strongest and the places that are less energized, and try to find a medium place between them so that there's a real sense of uniformity and balance rather than a real sense of like we're relying on strength and kind of going for the strong part. Because that's the natural tendency, which in turn makes the weaker parts kind of fade away. Okay? So try doing that for a few minutes. And just for now, let's just work on bringing the energy up and just really light. Let me kind of point out a couple things that tend to happen here that's easy to kind of miscue. And this is really a timing thing more than anything else. The idea is really two things. One, all of your body, every part of your body is in motion. And when it reaches the final top point, all the parts reach completion of their motion at the same time. Doesn't sound so hard. Tricky. What almost always happens is people move faster in their arms and upper body relative to the lower body, or slower, I should say. So the tendency is this.
Right.
And then the hands finish. And what you want to have happen is you really want to, with your focus in terms of movement of your body, you want to focus on what's happening in your legs and your waist and pelvis. And whenever that finishes, the hands finish. Make the adjustment you want to make in your hands to coordinate it with the motion of your lower body. It's a little easier to do that because what happens with most people is they kind of try to move slowly in their lower body and they have a limit to that because the range may not be very big. As an example, if I do this with a fairly small range in my lower body, it's real easy to run out of room. I've kind of gotten here, my hands are here, and it's like this is already stopped. Now if I have a bigger range in my lower body, it's not so much of a problem. But at first most people don't have that. And so the thing you want to do, if you have a smaller range in your lower body, you really want to slow down the motion in your lower body and speed up the motion in your hands so they still complete together. The other thing that there's a tendency to have happen, and this really affects the flow of the chi a lot, is not really fully opening up the end up through the neck and up through the occipital. It's real easy to inadvertently, kind of like go here, and then at the end, maybe collapse actually in the neck. You really don't want to do that. You really want to keep the sense of the neck lengthening and the energy really flowing up to the top of the head as you do the motion. One of the reasons for this is in terms of the circulation of the Wei Qi. As I come up, and I'm coming up, it's like this flow coming up here. Well, that flow comes into the arms and the hands up through the fingertips. And it joins with the flow going up through the back and up through the top of the head. And so if I cut this off, or if I do something that shuts this down, the flow that goes up and into the top, that connects, gets on one end or the other, gets kind of cut off a little bit. So it's very important to really energetically keep open through your neck, keep that extension and lift up through your neck so you don't close down, chi flowing up. So the next thing to kind of work on, which is related to this, is what happens when we're going to work a little bit later on the pelvis, because that's trickier. For now, I want to work on the shoulders, because it's related to what happens in the neck. If I'm going to turn around, face you. Watch what happens in my back. If as I extend out, my shoulder blades don't open. Okay, they close into my body. Let's say I do this, my shoulder blades are going to crunch. There we go. As soon as my arm starts going up, I actually start putting a downward compression into my neck. So what you want to have happen is, even if your shoulders aren't fully open, but you want to have a sense of, as you come up here, let the shoulder blades from the spine lengthen out and relax. Which makes it easier for the energy to get up into the neck and up to the top of the head. It also makes it much easier for it to get out through the arms and out to the fingertips. So it's like, this is like one of those places kind of in the upper thoracic region of your spine where things really can get bound just simply because of the tension in the shoulder blades. So if your shoulder blades are pulled in too much, you'll have a hard time getting the energy to really get up into your neck, because as your arms raise, the shoulder blades increase their tension. And they also contribute to a pulling down of the neck. So let's do this again. And if someone comes up here, I'll show you what who wants to be the guinea pig. I need a better name.
Test subject.
Test subject. What I want you to do is turn sideways. No, actually, we turn over. Go ahead and go through the motion. And what I want you to watch, particularly, Michael's actually doing this pretty well. Watch his shoulder blades and watch his spine up through his neck. Right there. Right at the top there. His neck started tensing a little bit. His shoulder blades through here came in. So go ahead and go back. And what I want to work on here is as the energy comes up through his upper spine, let me come all the way up. I want to get that release. So there's a sense of spreading out through his arms. So at the same time the energy is getting up into the head top, it's also going out from the spine into the elbow, up through the fingers, up through the tips, fingers. So try to help the person get their shoulder blades to really open out from the spine laterally. I mean, there's actually nobody here who has like a really severely like crunched in shoulder blades, which is good. What I want to let you do is I want to let each one of you feel my back and neck as I do this. So you can really kind of get a sense of what I'm trying to get at here. Because there's a relationship between what happens with as the chi flows up. If the shoulder blades don't get in the way of impeding it, the amount of chi that really goes up through the spine is really much stronger. And the key is getting, this is kind of like how I describe this, most of doing these exercises is getting our body out of the way instead of it getting in the way. And so if you do this in a way that you can get your body out of the way, the chi actually will really take care of itself pretty well. So I just want to give you a chance to feel this. You want to come up? Yeah. Take turns.
It's really bad. I don't have that much control.
It is, actually. It is, actually. It's a lot.
So watch what happens for me.
Okay.
If I pinch my shoulder blades in,
I think I'll.
as I do it, see what happens here? It's like, it doesn't give up because my neck doesn't relax enough
Thought before.
to allow it to open up.
Yeah.
So it's really important to let your shoulder blades release from your spine, because however much they hold restricts how much your neck and the energy can get up here. You feel what happens here? It's like pull my shoulders in a little bit. It's like sticks. It's like really just kind of jammed. And so it's like the more you release the shoulders out, the easier it is for the energy to actually get all the way down. Because sort of, however much fullness you get here in the Wei Chi, that's going to kind of like be the thing that's going to eventually be one of the things that's going to contribute, it really contributes to how much energy flows deeper. And so if the more you kind of get this full and open, the easier it is for it to go in deeper. It just has kind of more juice to work with. So it's like the better you can get this, the easier everything else is down the road. So the next part, which is trickier, is getting the energy flowing this way. So as you come up, front. And as you go down the front, don't collapse your back. You want to have a smooth sense. It's really, again, it's like the outside energy is what's moving everything here. One of the things that I find very helpful in trying to get a sense of the energy flowing back down through the front of the body is really, really relaxing through there. Relaxing through your chest, through your abdomen, pelvis, and all the way to your legs. That if you try to pull it, you won't get it because there'll be too much tension in your system.
Should you really be thinking of sort of the flesh an inch in or something like
No,
that?
no, this is like really the surface.
Really this?
Really the surface. Not an inch in. This is like, because the inch in stuff is the stuff you're going to do later. Right now, you're really working like maybe just like maybe a 16th or 32nd below the surface.
Really?
And up on and above the surface, actually outside of it. So it's really just right, and that's why that really light kind of tapping helps, because it actually really stimulates the energy really right on the surface of the body. This is where the acupuncture meridians are.
Oh, that's why the needles don't have to go very deep.
Yeah, I mean, for if you're doing meridian acupuncture, yeah. I mean, if you're doing the deeper channels, that's different. But
Yeah.
meridian, this really gets the energy on the outside of the body. Really open up.
So we have a lot of energy of that right on the surface.
And actually, that's where most people actually start experiencing. Very few people, if you ask them, do you feel the chi like going between the fascia and your bones? Probably not. Where do you feel it at first? You feel kind of this nice electric kind of stimulation that's running around on your surface, and it feels really good. It scares the kitty cat. No, maybe not.
Wants to be in the movie.
She's a star.
So that's really what your first, I think most people tend to experience it, is really on the outer part of their body, of their Wei Qi. The thing about this Qigong that's really nice, it teaches you how to go from doing that, getting that, to bringing you deeper and deeper, so you actually use it and connect it all into the deeper channels of your body.
By the end of the set. By the end of the
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
So is it even kind of a little outside?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It's not just in your skin.
it's not the.
It's actually, well, it's both. It's
It's
like,
both.
it's like right on the edge of the skin, in a little bit and out a little bit. It's like if you just kind of
Yeah.
covered yourself with this little envelope of energy, and it kind of goes in a little bit and extends out.
It's like the length of your hairs and arms.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
it feels like.
Yeah,
But your hair is to stand up on your arms.
There you go.
yeah. And if you get, not only if you get chicken pox, then you have a different kind of sensation.
Not chicken pox, goosebumps.
Goosebumps. So,
Chicken pox.
so you want to get that same sense of the energy as it comes up your back. Comes out, it goes up through the top of your head and fingertips. Now it's going to come down the front. And just keep doing this for now. I want to go around and just do a little adjustment on everybody. And sort of the two things that happen here. One, as Michael was pointing out, you don't want your neck like collapsing as the energy starts coming down the front. But at the same time, there's also the sense that everything is just kind of releasing down. And, yeah, it's sort of, it really is kind of like a wave that kind of goes up and then it comes down. It's always there, but it's just like this pulse that kind of travels through. And so it's like the fuller you can get everything, and then get this pulse to go. Because the pulse kind of serves kind of two purposes. One, it creates a circulation, but it also helps really open up little kind of blocks in the system. So it's not just that it's nice to circulate the chi this way, but it's sort of like taking a wave and running through the system, and as it goes, it picks up little pebbles, scatters them around, wears them out that are inside. So as you do this circulation, it's as much a sense of really being full and then having this wave go through. But it's not really deep in the body. And another way you can kind of see this is if Jay comes here and just kind of grab my cap or something. Okay. And I'm going to do this as I'm doing this light. So there's this definite upward flow. And then if you go on the shin, downward flow. Okay? Now, squeeze hard and feel really deep in. And I'm going to do the same thing. It's not happening deep in.
No, there isn't anything.
There's nothing in it. I mean, I can do something different that will make it happen deep in. But this is really about getting the surface energy really full and really nicely circulated.
You can feel it a lot with no pressure, when there's no
Yeah.
pressure there, but when you're grabbing it, it's like,
So even though you were moving up here, he was feeling a lot of movement down, way down there.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah, if you grab my cap. It's not just the hands movement or body. It's actually really a lot of the legs. You don't see anything. No, it's very subtle.
yeah.
It's not like a big, small movement. But it's very continuous and it's very fluid. The thing is, if you really kind of feel in deeper, and I do it this way, there's not like this deep
Yeah,
internal
yeah.
movement. It's really external. It's really on the surface. You can do things
What
later.
are you doing down in here, like at the bottom, like when you come around?
Mhm. Oh,
Is
okay.
it going through
No,
your
that's a good
squint
question.
somewhere?
Yeah, I mean, as I come down, basically, I'm going down the front, and it's going to go out into the feet, into the toes, really going again on the surface, and then it's going to come under the feet and come back up. And sort of the timing of everything in terms of the bottom, in relationship to like in the top where you've reached everything up here, the bottom timing is really where the energy really gets down when you time the change at the bottom and then bring it back up through the back. So try doing this a little bit. Try to get a sense of this downward flow.
At what point does it
Does
start?
it change?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically what happens is as you come up, the energy's coming up here, as my arms extend, it actually comes up under, through the palms up to the fingertips. Then when I come back down, it actually comes over the fingertips and comes down on the inside of the arms and down the inside of the body.
And simultaneously coming down.
Yes,
Right.
right. Okay. All right, well, what I want to do now is go into doing the second exercise, and kind of in sequence. But before we start, kind of really going into it, I'd like to just go back and work on and just do the first one for 5 minutes or so, just to really try to get that kind of energetic flow going up and back down, that kind of wave that goes through the outer surface energy of your body. Okay, so if we're going to go and look at the kind of transitioning of the first movement into the second. Go ahead. The first thing to kind of do is, and this is true in all these exercises when you transition, is to try to internally not break. So you don't want to kind of finish the first exercise and go, okay, start up again. What you would like to do is really, and there's a way to kind of really transition, I'll go through each one of these as we go through the set. As I finish the first exercise, I want to make sure I come down, and I really come to the point where I really complete at the bottom. Then I go into the closing phase of the second exercise, and then open. So then I end up going from one to the other without kind of internally having any break in my energy. And that's important to do. Now when you go into doing the second exercise, you're sort of at a point where you want to make a choice. And it really just kind of depends on what is going on in your body and how your energy feels. And the choice is either to start doing the gathering aspect of it right away, or to do a little bit of what we just did, and for however kind of much you feel like you won't need to do that, which is really the sense of the expansion here, really helping yourself. If it feels at the end of the first exercise like you still have a lot of gaps in the flow of your chi, spend a little bit of time at the beginning of doing the first one concentrating on really expanding and getting everything really full. So you're really trying to just use this as a way of allowing yourself to make sure, best you can, everything is nice and evenly open for your whole system. It's useful if you're doing this, I find, to use your breath inhaling as you're expanding. But try not to use force or tension to make the movement bigger. Try to keep it very relaxed and just allow the sense of the chi to really fill and open everything up. This is sort of done if you feel like in your system you need to go ahead and do this for a while during the second exercise. But it's sort of just really more like a way of kind of giving yourself a little extra boost here to kind of get the chi more uniform and stuff. But the first exercise hasn't really kind of done that for you. If the first exercise does that for you well, then you really go into doing what in terms of the circulation of the chi and deepening the chi in the body, what you do with the second exercise. And the second exercise is really designed to start and really pull the chi in deeper into your system. And so as you go through doing the second exercise, and if you look at it, I'm going from here, I start closing, and there's two aspects really to this closing, three that are very important. The first is from the periphery, which I mean that really the palms, fingertips, top of the head, feet bottoms, toes, and actually you can really even go out through your whole body, but for now really especially making sure of those points, gathering into your center. So everything gathers into your dantian. So you have this and that matches with my external physical movement. So that sense of going from the periphery into the center completes with the bottom of my movement. And then I reverse and go back out. Now you're not really trying to really push out much here. You want to just really allow everything kind of go back to where it was, or however much it kind of releases on its own, rather than trying to like fill it out. You don't want to try to go, okay, I'm going to try to contract everything, then I'm going to try to fill everything, then I'm going to contract everything, fill it. It becomes too much mentally, and you will tend not to actually bring the chi in as deeply. So kind of draw in and just release. And just whatever the chi does here, you don't have to worry about it. At the top, though, make sure you connect from the top of the head, the palms, and the feet bottoms. The bubbling one, actually. If you know the bubbling wall point, which is real quick. Here. If you can really connect to that specific point. If not, just your foot bottom. Toes also. Getting the energy out through your toes is very important. Okay, so then you come back up. And at the top, make sure that all connects. And then you're again from the periphery gathering into the center. The next aspect of this that's going to help you bring the chi deeper is, as much as you can, each joint in your body is also doing that same contraction and release at the same pace as the outside is doing. So as I go from being open here, and let's say I'll just focus on one particular joint for a minute. Like let's say I'm going to focus on my shoulder. As I'm going here and drawing in, my shoulder joint is also closing in itself. And also sort of my fingers, wrists, elbows, everything is. So it's actually, every joint of your body is behaving in a way that's unified with the outer and the big energetic gathering from the periphery into the center. So then in that sense, each joint is also gathering from its periphery into its center. So that's something that just takes time to kind of develop, because it's hard to hold all that sensation and everything together.
By center, do you mean lower dantian or the spine or the
Lower
whole thing?
dantian.
Okay.
Now, the key to getting this motion in your joints really happening better, and also the key to getting the chi to circulate deeper and deeper, is getting your tissue looser and looser. So it's sort of like any tension you have potentially makes the chi sort of not circulate as fully or as deeply as it otherwise might. So you kind of end up working successively or successively down deeper and deeper in your system. And you may find there'll be places like you might have one part of your body where the chi goes really deep, and other places it may not go as deep. But what you're sort of looking for is at first is to just start working at it so it starts going in deeper. And then also trying at the deeper kind of at the deeper levels, try to just kind of smooth it out through your whole system. So it becomes more like the whole system is working at that particular kind of depth, rather than just one particular part or something like that. So you try to make it nice and even through the whole system. And it's sort of like you go from the outside, and then you go kind of, from the Wei Qi, and then, after a while you start getting the Qi really flowing heavily in the heavy tissue, like your big muscles and stuff like that. And as the big muscles release more and more, it goes down into the fascia. And as the fascia releases more and more, it goes down a little bit deeper, and eventually gets down to going on the surface of the bones. But it doesn't go onto the surface of the bones until your tendons and your joints release. Otherwise, you'll kind of still be somewhere in the heavy tissue of your body, in the fascia. And it just takes some time to kind of develop and work this down. Because you don't want to try to, like with your mind, okay, go, I'm going to try to force it in there. Rather, what you want to do is you want to allow the sense of the releasing through your body to allow the Qi, as you do like this nice closing. As you see what happens here, as I do this, it's really happening through the whole system of my body. It's happening through my hands, the joints of my hands. If you look at my hands carefully, if I do this. As I close, here I've got, my joints are open. I just relax. I don't actually try to do anything with my hands. And at this point, my hands are actually quite closed, in the sense that they're very drawn in. So I'm going from being very full, and then drawing in through the joints. And then I end up in this nice, very closed, everything is going deeper and deeper.
And you're drawing up.
And you're drawing up through the legs and all the joints in your legs. So you're kind of doing this, and you're starting. So this is basically the function of the second movement, is to kind of start bringing the Qi deeper into your body. And it sort of almost sets like the natural place where you're going to work from. Because going through the whole sequence, you're going to go deeper, but you're probably not going to go that much deeper than you do in the second exercise. You might do a little bit, might get a little bit deeper. But the second exercise is the one that kind of like goes, okay, if I'm going from like level, the Wei Qi on the outside of my body, and I get like 3 levels deeper or something like that. I'm just kind of making up a number.